Welcome to video 2 of creating citations and references. This is Mr. Sexton. I want to make sure that you understand there are 2 videos. This is the second of 2. Please watch video 1 prior to this one. This video we're going to cover citations, quotations, paraphrase material, creating reference lists, and the do's and don'ts of citing and referencing. Let's move on here and look at what we've got. How do we create citations? Well, there are 2 kinds of citations. You have to understand that. First of all, we have direct quotes, and then we have paraphrasing or summarizing. Direct quotes are exactly what they say. You are quoting something directly from the text or the source you have. The other is paraphrasing, where you're summarizing what somebody else has said. All too often, I will see a student think that they're not, I hate to say cheating, plagiarizing, by reading something and saying, well, he's saying this, and then they write it down and they don't cite it. Well, you are summarizing what that person's saying. When you summarize, or as it's technically known, when you paraphrase, you must cite the source. Otherwise, it's known as plagiarism. You don't want that to happen. So there are different types of direct quotes. There are short quotations of 40 words or less, and in those, you use quotation marks to indicate exact words that are quoted. The citation immediately follows that quotation. The citation should be enclosed in parentheses, and that's called a parenthetical citation. So be sure you always put quotes around your quotations and follow it with a citation. The citation must include the source, the publication date, and the page numbers. As you see here, the source, the publication date, and page numbers are enclosed in parentheses, parenthetical citation. Okay? Here's an example of a short direct quote. Notice, a home built of bricks and mortar is far superior to a home built of twigs. That is a quote, and it's enclosed in quotation marks. The author is Wolf. It was written in 2008, and we found it on page 208. So the quotation is less than 40 words. It's enclosed in quotation marks, and it includes the author's name, the date and page number, and it is enclosed in parentheses. These are simple, short, direct quote citations. Guidelines for a longer quote. Longer quotes consist of 40 or more words, and in this instance, the quote is a separate block of text. And let's look at how we do that. First of all, we start the block quotation on a new line. Then we indent the quotation 5 spaces from the left and from the right. Then we follow the quote. Following the quote, the author returns to the original left justification found in the rest of the document. Sounds a little confusing, but we'll find an example here to show you how that works. Okay? Let's look at this. Here is a quotation. This is a posting that somebody would have written. This first area up here is simply the question. Discuss the best materials one might use to build a strong home. The student has gone on to answer this, and he writes, while thinking of the answer to this question, I was reminded of a problem my brothers and I had while building our homes. My youngest brother thought it adequate to use twigs to build his home. I, on the other hand, thought bricks and mortar might serve me better. While reading Wolf, a definitive study of building materials for little piggies, Wolf writes, and here is the block text, the long quote. It's more than 40 words. It is set in from the right 5 spaces. It's set in from the left 5 spaces. It is followed by a parenthetical citation. Then, after that is done, the author has gone on to continue writing his posting. He didn't end it here. He went on to sum it up, so to speak. So that parenthetical long quotation it should be indented, drop down 2 lines, drop down 2 lines, inset 5, followed by a parenthetical citation. Now I'm going to move on. Now, paraphrasing. As I said, many students think that they can look at something and just kind of say what the guy is saying. Well, what's that? What that's called is summarizing. And when you summarize, that is paraphrasing. So you need to be careful when you restate the author's words as your words, then you are paraphrasing. So just remember, it's simply summarizing what somebody else has said. Let's look at how we do this. When you paraphrase something, make sure you use a signal phrase to let the reader know if paraphrase is coming. It's not a bad idea to always use a signal phrase to let your reader know that you're going to quote something, but it's especially important when you're going to paraphrase something. Here's an example. This is something that we took from Wolf's book again. Now, we're writing a signal phrase here. In building a wolf-proof house, Wolf writes, "The home built of bricks and mortar is far superior to a home built of twigs." Now, the author is giving acknowledgement that somebody else wrote this. Wolf wrote it. And he's going to follow this up with a citation. Wolf, 2008, page 28. So the paraphrase material must be followed with a parenthetical citation. Don't just sort of leave it at the end that you've referenced somewhere in this paper that you've gone to Wolf. Always state it right there, right at the spot where you did it. You need to cite it. Now, reference lists. Reference lists come at the end of your writing. The reference reflects the citation in detail. You need both a reference and a citation. The citation is within the text. The reference is at the end of the text or at the end of the exercise. Let's give you an example, including both a citation and a reference. An example here, as our text states, again, this was a quotation. When building a house, be certain to use substantive materials, blah, blah, blah. And you've got your quotation or your citation there. And then at the end, you have the reference. So the reference is at the end of the posting, or it could be at the end of your paper on a separate reference sheet. The citation tells the reader the material was written by Wolf in 1846. It tells the reader the information can be found on page 17. The references, those are simply the bibliographic information that connects with the citation. It tells the reader more about the book where you found the citation. The writer or the reader can now go back and find it. Now here are some do's and don'ts of quoting. Do, use a signal phrase to warn the reader that someone else's ideas are going to be introduced. Do use meaningful quotes that add substance. Don't just throw things in. Make sure it adds substance to what you're talking about. If you don't understand it, don't quote it. Do not quote things you don't understand. You can get in big trouble that way. Quote carefully. Watch your spelling and your grammar. Be sure that you quote it exactly as it was written. Do not use too many quotes. Avoid padding your work. Your work shouldn't look like a Christmas tree, like you've just thrown in quotes at random. Make sure that the quotes are meaningful. Try not to start a paragraph with a quote or end a paragraph with a quote. Begin your ideas with your own, or begin your statements with your own ideas, and let the quote support what you say. Don't end with a quote. Conclude the paragraph with your own idea. I want to thank Dr. Kristen Ballard and Dr. Cynthia Todd for their help in writing this video. Both of them teach for Ashford University and other universities. They're both fantastic, excellent teachers. I really appreciate their input into this, and I know you will too. Hope this has helped you, and I look forward to some great postings and some great papers.